So go ahead, everybody please rise and join with me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's a whole lot of orange.
Yeah.
I just don't, I
I want
couldn't
to make sure you
look
can
at
see me there, Lonnie. I know your sight's not getting too bad.
That's not all.
Need the sunglasses.
Hang on one second here.
Okay, that's my only obnoxious comment of the morning.
No, it won't be the last one.
I don't believe that.
I don't either.
Be fast.
Raise your hand if you
I was
believe
there
that.
last time, looked where I got a steak or something like that. It's pretty good. Cheese super big.
Just hold on for a second.
The rolls, you know, I always take a dozen of them with
Oh,
me.
yeah,
But, yeah, I'm really disappointed.
I was.
Your call has been forwarded to an.
Hi, Carol.
Hey, Irma.
Andy's be in here in about 30 seconds.
All right.
What you and him been doing?
Yeah.
Sitting out in the car?
Came from
commuting?
different directions.
Oh,
Yeah. Train.
Hmm?
Train on the track?
Nope.
not from where they live.
No, that's true.
There's no electricity out that way.
Long train. No cell phone service either.
Sometimes it's a challenge.
Yeah, I know.
Don't know how you take the stress, Carl. I know it's wearing,
Okay.
it's wearing on your haircut.
Adam, do you want to do your thing first?
Yeah, I really don't have a whole lot for you guys this morning unless you got anything for me. Fair Week is in full swing, so.
Saw the setup out there, it's impressive.
Yeah, so the mobile instant command trailer is out there on the north end. We'll be setting up everything else Wednesday, so the medical tent, we'll bring it out Wednesday, we'll have it set up Thursday and Friday night. Thursday is kind of a run through, and Friday will be full operations. Friday's gonna be a pretty much all hands on deck night for us, so I'll have all my trucks. So I've got a Chrisman truck, and I've got 2 UTVs that I'm gonna have crews on too, so I'll have about 6 crews out there in total. So we're gonna have a lot of medical personnel. All of EMS and ER staff are gonna be in these nice orange shirts. We do that on purpose so people can find us, but it's already been a busy week. We had rodeo Saturday night, we treated 5 out there, ended up transporting 1. Last night was pretty uneventful, but next couple nights we hope for, well, I mean, we really hope for that the rest of the week, but we don't expect full swing until about Wednesday through Saturday will be our busiest days.
What do you most have problems with? You got a lot of people out there, because that's a lot of employees is there a lot of problems that you have to deal with?
No, just the concert, we're anticipating about 6,000 people in total, so I'd rather have everyone out there and not need a single one of them than something kick off and I don't have the resources. So we are hopefully way over preparing for what this is. But I'd rather have all the resources in place and not have to use a single one of them.
Sounds good to me.
But you have to transport cowboys.
One.
So,
Is that when they do the stupid table thing?
No, it was actually a bronc rider that got injured. So, yeah, the public doing their bowl game, that was interesting. We had some injuries out of that, but if you guys have anything for me?
There was something in the paper about, with Horizon Health and District 95 or the high school, some type of.
So the high school got a grant to basically have their own health clinic. So Horizon is going to, basically the grant is going to pay for the nurse practitioner to staff that. Horizon is providing the nurse practitioner, then the grant pays for the actual operations.
I just wondered, it was in the paper. So
We will employ their nurse practitioner, but he or she will work with the school.
Okay.
so the nurse practitioner is full-time
Yeah.
in District 95. Okay. Is that replaces like the school nurse, or
No, I
that's an
believe, so
addition?
from what I understand, individual schools will still have their own nurses,
Okay.
but they basically will be able to use this nurse practitioner for physicals
Yeah.
and maybe more primary care, the way I understand it.
Instead of a lot of people coming to your facility, they can do it at the schools. kind of somewhat.
I believe that's how I'm gonna
Yeah.
work. Gary, don't quote me on that
Yeah.
without
But-
digging more into that, but I believe that's how it's gonna work.
It's a work in progress.
It is,
So it'll save people coming into your facility potentially,
potentially.
or, you know,
I believe it's
Kids.
more to get these kids that don't have, their parents might not have the
Right.
resources to get them into the doctor. It's a way to give these kids access to healthcare that they may have not had
yeah,
access to.
sounds like a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys.
I think everybody knows Jim, electrician.
See, Adam,
He is here to talk to us about the electrical system in the yard around the courthouse. Jim, slide up here, you're welcome to. Okay.
One of the biggest things that needs to be attended to is someone's put plug-ins in on the south side of the square that's on a 225 amp breaker.
We saw it.
we saw it.
And the south side of the square is the worst. But basically, when I built that 30-some years ago, I put 3-prong 50 amp plugs in. Now, if I was doing it today, I would put 4-prong 50 amp plugs. And all these trailers will have to adapt to these, and I'm gonna go around and put, there's 4 plugs on each pedestal, put 2 50 amp 4-prongs in place of the 2 that's there. Bring that up to date so there's no adapters and stuff has to be used. And then we'd like to build 3 more pedestals and put them down toward the south end where there's none right now. The boxes are there. All I have to do is build the pedestals and set them in. Just bringing the whole system up to date and cleaning it up. There's one pedestal a tree fell on and it's leaning and busted. I figure I'm straightening it up. Just cleaning everything up around the courthouse. And basically, I'm looking at right at $6,000.
How much?
$6,000.
Do you have to redo some breakers and stuff inside? I mean, I've heard,
The breaker on side of the courthouse down there, the one for the west side, they trip it all the time. And basically, in that figure, I figured to replacing that 225 amp breaker. And I imagine it'll be cheaper to go with a box and breaker. I haven't found a breaker to fit that box yet, but
no box.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've changed the shape, and these old breakers are getting very expensive to get.
Anti breakers are expensive right now.
Yeah, everything is expensive right now, but
Is that, are there any 3-phase?
no, it's all
It's all,
single-phase.
okay. 3-phase breakers are real expensive.
But this is, there's a 400 amp single phase service there. I've got split the east side of the courthouse all the way around is on one breaker, the west side's on the other. And I've told the Kiwanis, they've got to divide these trailers up, put food all the way around the courthouse instead of having everything on the west side.
Makes sense.
But this was put in, I would say close to 30 years ago I put this in,
Yeah,
and we've done very little work on it,
right.
and it needs to be updated.
Yeah, we saw what the south side looked like the other day, and that's pretty.
That scares me. If someone would plug a cord into those 2 plug-ins and a little kid or someone get a hold of that, we'd have a death on our hands. There
We
wouldn't be
wouldn't
no
shut it
problem.
off the other day. I think
Yeah,
he shut it off, so.
yeah, because, yeah, he shut them off.
It
Years
should be
ago-
shut off until it's fixed.
Right, years ago, we used to take those things out and.
Put them
in-
away.
Put them away, and then when Kiwanis or Shrine Weekend, we'd come put them back out, because that was the only time they were used.
Okay, I wondered why it was done like it was. Somebody just did it real quick then, didn't they? Just wired it up real quick?
The plug-in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who done that.
Yeah.
And I don't know who done the Christmas tree. that Christmas tree's got a rubber cord buried underground all the way over to it. For a couple of weeks, I don't know why they buried it. Why it couldn't be just stretched out there, hook the Christmas tree up, and then take it away. But
I don't know who done it.
I don't
We
know.
didn't do it, but
No,
somebody-
everyone's got their quick way of doing things.
Yeah.
Right.
That's boards, boards, and
who?
they, every board or the boards.
I
No.
don't think so.
They were in jail at the time.
But
But
Kiwanis has agreed to pay some of it. And that's the main thing. You and them's gotta figure out who's gonna pay what.
Well, Ray said they would pay 3. Isn't that what he said?
I didn't catch a number from him, but
Did you hear a number?
I haven't heard a number from them. I just met
talked like
them.
3.
Well, that's what he said in front of us.
Well,
So if they would pay half of it, I think that would be great.
Well, if there's a danger you're talking about, this needs to be done ASAP.
right, I don't wanna burn the courthouse down either.
Or kill some child.
Kill.
We don't want that.
I don't think
Oh,
they'll
no, I
burn the
know.
courthouse down or anything, but I see someone getting killed.
Yeah,
Well, let's get her done.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody
I-
okay?
Everybody fine, they splitting it down the middle and doing it as soon as
Well,
possible.
regardless of the
They're
fact we gotta do
Regardless.
it.
Right,
Let's
right.
just
We'll
My-
just pay whatever they don't pay.
Right,
Okay.
right. I agree.
My biggest problem is getting the equipment to do it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm having a heck of a time getting it square the equipment.
Well, can you start now and maybe?
I'll
That's
order
right.
it today.
Order it.
Okay. Because we gotta do it one way or the
yeah,
other.
do you think maybe by Honeybee, and that
Oh,
way
yes.
you'll have, maybe have it done by then?
We'll have
Hopefully.
something done,
Yeah.
even if I gotta do something, say temporarily,
Right.
but I would say yes, I can
Okay.
have it done by then.
That'd be
Sounds
great.
good.
You got to go ahead then.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right.
Good.
Take care.
You okay?
Well, that doesn't sound good.
Well,
Well, you should have seen it.
yeah, it's kind of scary.
Sounds
It's
like
just like some plugs outside with wire nuts on them just hanging out there. And I was like, oh my God, we did that.
That's
On a-
not good.
On a wooden stick.
I know years ago, we used to have trouble, vendors would come up there and it wasn't for them, wouldn't work for what they had, and they'd go in themselves and mess with it, and it was an ongoing problem all the time. And over the years, you know, some of the stuff's been removed, and Jerry Rich, and it just,
Well, it needs to be,
Yeah, it needs to be.
if you're gonna use it for what you're using it for, it needs to be updated to be used like that.
and they need to monitor that. I mean, if, once he fixes it, it ought to be up to snuff, modernized, but Kiwanis or whoever who uses it needs to monitor and make sure that someone's not going in there and,
And doing anything.
yeah, because.
Anything they do can plug in out there, other than that, they can't go
Yeah.
messing with anything.
Because that was an ongoing thing all the time when I was there. People was trying to do something to it.
Can't you lock it so they can't get into it?
Not really. Well,
That's usually,
they,
yeah.
Well, you open
Bypass
it up,
that.
they start putting plugs in, that's when they start messing with it, so
yeah.
Well,
see how you can prevent
But if
that.
he modernized it, it ought to be, he knows what all the vendors
are
need.
using and what.
And it should be
Yeah.
adequate for what they need. It's just, I mean, like I say, it's probably at least close to 30, because it was put in when I was there.
Were you there when it was done?
Yeah,
But there's been some modifications
yeah,
made.
and by people, I don't know, it wasn't
Right.
us.
Who would do what they did? I guess they did it real quick and just.
Oh, the sheriff.
Something to take care of the problem, but, you know, right now.
Right now, yeah, good.
So is Ray out there when they're plugging all this in? Do we have a point of contact if anybody has a problem?
Well, we've always, in the past, like if it was Kiwanis, they had a point of contact and they assigned the people, and if there was a problem, they went to the Kiwanis because they were there.
Okay, so the Kiwanis person has a point of contact?
Well, we probably,
They used to, now whether now, I don't know how they do it,
you know,
It's the same way, Carl. They still do it that way.
yeah.
probably ought to get with whoever's the contact person with the Kiwanis and say, if you need anything
Or are you two
done,
Ray and
get a
Ken?
hold of Ray.
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody doing anything
No.
unless it goes through Ray, really.
Right.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, for the most part, the only thing up there is Kiwanis now. I mean, it used to
Yeah.
be Shrine.
Right.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Kiwanis has
well,
some
and then they
food
got the-
trucks, but yeah.
I mean, that's really the only
They
weekend.
Plug anything in
Yeah.
at the market.
For
It
the most
really
part.
is. That's the only weekend.
Do that.
Other than
Yeah.
well,
Wow.
farmers
market,
market.
they didn't use
They don't use
Is it a
anything.
cooler, like a meat sales cooler?
There was
With it,
one there.
with it being off, the farmer's market, are we,
They don't
Giving
have, I
them
don't
any
think they
problem?
use anything.
well, they were saying somebody.
Yeah, Laos do.
Oh,
Yeah,
They got a
freezer
trailer, I don't know where
Right
they
on the
plug it
corner,
in.
and they plug in that one thing
Oh,
on the
do
corner.
Yeah.
They buy meat up
Yeah.
there. But that's the only one that even use electricity, so.
Well, but if we shut it all off, there's not any available right now.
I'll try to get a hold of Brian. I know him. And just tell him that,
He's gotta get a hold of Ray.
heck, you know,
Of course, they're on.
because it's all shut off now, so if he goes up there Saturday, he won't have any juice.
Well, he probably didn't have any last
Yeah,
Saturday.
because we shut it off middle of last week,
Right.
so. I-
Yeah, freezer. so
I'll
every
touch
couple
base with him,
hours,
tell him
so
it's gonna be off for a while, or fix it, he might have to bring a generator or
Harbor
something.
inspector would say so.
Okay.
True.
Yeah.
Andy, do you have anything?
I got, the smart water report. Please report that there was a surplus of 3,823 in year 2 cost savings from the guaranteed value in the contract. And there, I can, did you get that, Augie?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, I'll send that to you, and then maybe, they wanted to know if anybody wants, if they can come present to us again like they did last year, if we want to, or we can just print out a report and you can read it yourself. And I honestly don't, do you think it's worth spending the money, anybody, to have them do the report every year? You pay them to do that report.
I mean, our savings,
Yeah.
how else we gonna know if we're saving?
Well, we'd still get the report, but they wouldn't come and present.
Oh, we pay him to come and,
Well, am I wrong?
No, yeah, I don't think they'll necessarily even do the report if you don't want to. But from
I think
what
we need the report.
you want the report?
Don't
Okay,
you
as
guys?
long as you don't mind.
well,
I mean,
yeah,
it's-
we need to know if we're
Mm.
saving, if it's not, you know, that's part of the contract, isn't it?
Where the
It
savings are,
is, as
too.
long as you can continue that contract. I feel pretty certain that given the energy costs of things of what they are now compared to when we did this thing, they're gonna come back every time and say, oh, you save money.
What's the cost of the report?
Like $3,400 a year.
Whoa.
Was
Yeah.
it really?
Yes.
They're charging
You just
us
paid
that
that,
much?
didn't you? Or did you?
Good
They
God.
sent a thing and I sent it to you and then it came back.
I thought the 3,400 was what was the excess that we generated?
Shit, that was huge.
3,000 something.
Well, that's what I thought they were telling us.
No.
Okay.
They charge you to do that report. And I remember at the time we signed up, I said, well, is everybody, I mean, they just pay you to do the report, and they said after 2 or 3 years, most of them just cancel the actual report thing. Now, you can, I assume that I can check with them and see, maybe 5 years down the road, 8 years, you could come in and have them come do the report and then pay them to do it, if you wanted to.
Be kinda
They
nice to know
charge-
where the savings are too.
What's that?
Be kinda nice to know where the savings are, like health department or courthouse or what, or jail or, I can't believe paying the report when they already pay them anyway, right?
Well, we paid them to do the work,
Yeah.
but then they charge you to come in and do that report. That was part of the contract when we signed up. If you want,
Must've been fine print.
I remember. But anyway, and they are, I don't know whether they're done welding at the jail, but they have been up there doing welding upstairs. So I talked to Jeff, did he talk?
Yeah,
to-
he told us
everybody,
at the
yes,
sheriff's
okay,
meeting.
yeah, okay. They're moving right along, getting the upstairs done, so. Other than that,
Yeah, I think he said that once the welding's done, he's already talked to the painters, and he said, just give us a call and we'll get someone right there.
Yeah.
So,
get it painted and I don't know whether they're putting cameras in yet.
Don't think
No,
they'll put.
Not yet.
Not yet.
At one point, they were gonna go, he was gonna tell them just go ahead so that they
Decided
could
not
use
to.
it. Okay, good. I kinda wanted them to wait, but
Yeah.
anyway.
But we haven't had a overcrowding problem, so we haven't really had to use it.
And you know, it's my experience, the overcrowding problem happens in like January, December, January, right around there.
It's cold outside.
Well, people were either.
Plus back
people were
then, we
depressed.
had all those DOC prisoners, you know, we had
Couldn't
8
get
or
rid
9
of-
of them,
couldn't-
couldn't get rid of
yeah.
them, so that kind of caused an issue,
For the
but
last couple.
since
of
then, we
years.
haven't had any issues.
Okay. That's all I got.
Yeah?
Had an animal meeting last week and Henry, and we kind of talked about changing the hours at the shelter to make it more accessible to people who would like to adopt. You know, so right now it's like 8 to 4, so if somebody wants to adopt an animal in the evening, the shelter's not open. Or same would be true on Saturday, so working on changing the hours a little bit so it'll make it more accessible to people who like to adopt an animal. A little bit later in the evening and on Saturday, so. So we'll have something to present probably maybe a week or two, so. We had something worked up, but Bud and I didn't agree with it, so we need to change it. So we think it'd be a good
I was
idea.
at another meeting.
Pardon?
I was at another meeting that day.
No.
I'm not sure why you're on that committee, seriously, because you got this other
We got so
stuff
many
that you're
meetings anyway, yeah.
tied up with all the
Lisa's
time.
got time.
No, we gotta have, we gotta have 3,
I said Lisa's got time.
we just need a body, I mean, that's all we need.
I would never be worried about missing one of those. I'd be
So,
more concerned about not having prime rib.
So, Bud and I didn't like something, so we'll.
So are you just gonna decide, or are you gonna let
No,
us
no,
know?
No, no, those we're
Well, no,
working
I
on.
wanted to know how you were.
I know Linda's, she works every Saturday, and
Yeah.
I think the hours are 8 to 12, but she's always there till 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna do, extend the hours on Saturday,
maybe
And-
start at 9 instead of 8, and
Right.
go 1 or 2 or whatever.
and then
Yeah,
the extra hours on Friday evening where people
Mhm.
may
Get off work, they.
Right.
Oh, and then they'll get that published in the paper, and that'll make a difference.
Yep.
I bet.
Paper always
How
makes a
many dogs they
difference.
got?
It does.
Well, we got,
Maybe do some marketing on that.
Yeah,
Put a
there's a
sign
lot
out
of-
of the road.
We're probably ought to read the paper, shouldn't we?
No, they've got
That's a lot, that's
That's a lot.
I haven't read it since it was.
So we'll have
on
some present
Wednesdays.
probably the next workshop.
I was reading to see how Gary made me sound.
Russ, you got
sort of
anything?
He does make it look good.
Carl, do you have anything?
One thing I might mention, last week we had a building committee meeting, and we met up at the annex to look at that and address some issues, or talked about some issues, and the maintenance guy is gonna check on some things. He's calling a plumber to come and take a look at that drain going out to see if that can be fixed, and so we're working on some issues there. We also had a sheriff's meeting, talked about a bunch of different things, nothing amount to that much, but we are gonna set up, hopefully next week, a tour of the Jasper County Jail down at Newton.
Good.
They've, sometime next month, I think they're moving into their new jail. So we want to go take a look at that, and the sheriff and some of his people, I think, are gonna go with us.
That doesn't have to be, we're gonna have to post it anyway. I mean, anybody that wants to go.
Right, yeah, anybody.
It's not
can go.
limited to the
Yeah.
sheriff's committee.
So whenever we get finalized the date, we'll let everybody know, and, you know, anybody else wants to go, we'll meet here in town, go down there.
This afternoon, we're gonna meet at First Mid
Yeah.
and take a look at First Mid. They're gonna meet us and just to see, once again, it's been, what, about 2 years since we've been in there, so. See what's
First
possible.
med for what?
For possible offices. Instead of
The whole
constructing a new
Yeah.
building, I mean, if we've got a decent building and it's close to the courthouse.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean,
I
there's
didn't
several
think-
options. We're looking at another place too that's for
Just
sale.
for moving other offices into it?
Yeah,
Is
the
that what you're
clerk,
thinking?
yeah. Treasurer,
Where they go,
Assessment.
are they got extra room or?
Yeah.
oh yeah. They've got about 2/3 of the bank that's available.
But they're not talking about closing. Their
That's what
Their
I'm.
process is just us using available space.
Correctly.
Leasing.
Leasing
Yes.
office space.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should
Yeah.
have, I just think everybody's on the same wavelength. but I've got a lot of static. How about you? Nothing, Lud?
Nothing.
Lisa's got plenty.
Lisa has
Of
enough
course.
place to stay here a long time. So, the Chamber of Commerce, I just had received some feedback from somebody about, putting information in the chamber newsletter, how do you get things out? And our understanding is that they no longer have an executive director and it's by appointment only if you want their services. So, didn't know if anybody else had any additional information about that? Because I attended that, I represent us on there, and I had attended a meeting, and I was the oldest person there by a lot, which I thought was a really good sign, and that was it. So now I know why I haven't seen any of the meetings apparently. So, I don't, that's just an FYI. HRC, I contacted Jonathan because 3 of their 4 meetings are at the same time as public health departments, and I really like being on the HRC 708 board, and I feel like I can provide a little bit of input, and I think that's just a great organization. So I informed Jonathan of that, and he said they would, so I'll miss their next meeting. He said they were gonna discuss maybe moving the meeting, so.
So you
At the same time.
So I can stay on there.
Same time with health, right?
Yeah. I
I was
really
on both those too for a
Yeah.
while.
have a lot of respect for what HRC is doing, and they have a summer camp. I think I asked Augie to forward one of the newsletters. They have a summer camp. They do some great things with their clientele for their special needs. HR payroll system. Jeff and Augie and Dawn and Pam and I participated in our first WebEx demonstration from Paycom, and that brought up a lot of discussion about what is needed, and I think you guys got further on understanding what the opportunities were. We have another one scheduled with the same company at 11:30 today over at the Annex in the conference room. In the meantime, Friday afternoon, I participated in a demo with another company who does it differently. And in anticipation of doing a demo with them with the same group of us, Pam compiled some information that they were wanting. So we are moving forward on that. We're trying to move forward pretty quickly. Every time we get a demo, it's like this with anything, even if it's you guys dealing with something on the farm or at work, the more demos you have, the more you learn what's available and can narrow down what it is you want. So we are definitely in the fact-finding stage. Wind ordinance, I haven't gotten any further on that one. I know you and I need to get together. Solar,
There was an article in the Champaign paper last week about, I forget what county it was, but they were having problems with people on farmland, and they want to put the turbines on their farmland. You're talking about a drainage system and so forth, so kind of interesting. It was in Champaign paper last week.
yeah, they're
Not
wanting.
Pike County, maybe one of those counties up north. is what
Yeah.
it was.
And I know, they're wanting, there's a company wanting to put one in.
Apex, is that the name of it?
Could
I think
be
it was, yeah.
around Philo. My husband is on, the Quaker Farm Committee, that there are 6 Quaker meetings that are responsible for these 2 pieces of ground. And in fact, right before I came here, one of those pieces, which is just north of us, not too far, even though the committee has told them no, they keep poking and poking, you know, like a child that doesn't listen to no. So that is not finished, which gives me more pressure to get going on that. Solar, we received the solar application, and I did finally get a chance to go through it last night, and I know Joe said he has gone through it too. Did you have any issues or concerns? Well, the one thing I have been telling them is drainage, okay, two things. Drainage and affecting a neighbor, and the other is the fire department and ESDA requirements. There is a line in here that they commit to the drainage issue, and it does say will or shall, so that's good. But it doesn't say enough on fire department. It only says that they're gonna give them the code, local fire department and emergency services, the code to open it up, which is a big deal, because I've heard in other places that's been a problem. But our ordinance states that they will work with ESDA to coordinate training and materials needed, and that language is not in here.
So are you gonna call them?
I certainly can, and Ryan had better answer my call because he left me standing for 2 meetings earlier on. So,
And then that'll be on the agenda in August.
alrighty.
One thing you might do, if you want, contact the fire chief over there in Kansas to see maybe what his concerns are. I'm sure he knows
Yeah,
what
good point.
Ashmore's dealt with, since it's, their fire department.
Is that
Right.
still Kirk?
I assume he's still the fire
Yeah.
chief. But, I think he'd be a good, quite honestly, good source to know
I do
what
too. I
that,
agree.
to what the concerns should be and what, they maybe require. And
Okay.
The thing will be to limit, well, not limit him, but, I mean, he needs to
Right, in
answer
that
that
capacity.
question, yes.
Yeah,
Not,
not the philosophical conversation,
yeah.
right? Okay. Will do. And my other is, I did go to my first public health department meeting. Actually, I guess I've been to 2 now. And the first one, we introduced Allison Williams from HRC, and Scotty Ingram as new board members with me. And then this last week, we also introduced Dina Cochran. And Dina has the perfect background to understand the issues and to provide some feedback and guidance. And we talked, Dina and I talked with Monica afterwards because she handed out the clean copies in my car. She handed out their annual report, and I said, where does this go? Well, it doesn't really go anywhere, well, which makes it worthless. So I said, where do you publish this? And I know when I worked for Extension, and they don't do it anymore, which I think they should, I always published a half-page report because if you're getting public money, you better make it public. So she and I talked about that, and she and Dina and I will work together on that, and we'll probably work together on some other publicity, which Dina, that's a point of interest for Dina especially. So at some point in the near future, Dina and Monica and I will get together and talk about how to best publicize, because they do lots of great things. But if you don't know about it, I know I'm guilty, I assume everybody else is. If you don't know what somebody's doing, you assume they're not doing anything, and that's not the case, so.
I think also that they should be it says anybody that maintains a website, any agency, minutes should be on there. They
And the-
need to give us more information about what they're doing on a monthly or at least a bi-monthly, or every 2 months. They need to give us input.
And the minutes for HRC, because I was looking for the minutes for the health department, I went to HRC and looked for there, and they don't publish the minutes either, so this isn't just taking a look at the health
Yeah,
department.
we're not,
And then how far do you go with that requirement on minutes? Like Extension is levying funding. How far do you go with what the requirements are or the expectations?
do they have a website?
They have a website.
Are the other counties doing it? In other words,
I don't know that it's been so long since I've paid
well, let's
attention to
just
that.
tackle
You
the
mean the
two.
health department, other health departments? Oh, you're talking
Talking about
about
extension.
Extension.
For each, that's,
But, you know, what's the criteria for when we are expecting minutes and that expectation of what they publish? How far do we go with that? But I can certainly just,
You could ask Kurt that, or,
I could. I could.
no, we'll just take it a step at a time, I guess.
Because I'm sure if I said that to HRC, they'd say, because they now have an administrative system, but they didn't, when I looked on there, they didn't even have updated meeting dates. So I pointed that out, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
And the
So,
meetings should be posted and everything
yes,
else.
okay.
And an agenda.
I will work with her to make sure that all those items are on there. And I'm sure it won't be an issue with HRC. And Public Health Department has their meeting dates posted at the front door for the whole year.
Well, that's good,
Yes, they do have that.
but it should also be online also.
But that's not posted on our site.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, it may be.
I,
I was just curious.
our dates for the,
Ours is.
ours are.
Ours are, I know, but the health department, or I may be on their website, they got a website.
They have a website, the meeting dates are posted correctly on their website.
Okay.
Oh.
I don't think anything else that we were just discussing was.
Agenda or minutes.
Right.
We talked about one time, Health Department publishing the restaurant inspection results. Do you ever talk about that, or you ever brought it up?
They were handed out,
Gary talked about it one time, right?
what do you think, Gary?
You want to explain that?
Well, at one time, when we approached them about getting it, Janet said I had to FOIA for it.
What?
And I said, I don't understand that. That's public record, you should just hand it over. She said, no, the board decided that you had to FOIA.
We need to
Okay,
address
Now,
that.
but the other thing, then when I talked to him the other point, another time about it, they said that, you know, since they have this new system where it's right on the door going into the restaurant, you know, they don't wanna go to the effort of sending something on next one of them out.
I get it on a piece of paper. We get it on a piece of paper.
Well, we'll,
It's handed out, so.
I just thought I brought it up.
And that was a prior, not
Yeah.
Jen's decision, it was a board decision that anybody wanted, had to FOIA to request it.
they have, the board also, the Board of Health, has some kind of a rules that they promulgated. We ought to see those too. They operate under their own rules. And it'd be interesting to see what those rules are. Remember you, because Janet says, well, remember when we wanted to go from 8 to 9 members? She goes, well, that's not in our rules.
Oh, I don't have a copy of their bylaws.
Yes, we need to see because they need to
Because
be
we updated-
inconsistent with the law.
I don't have a copy either.
Well, that's
We-
fine, but I mean, the
yes.
law comes first. They can't make up a bunch of, no agents, we can't make up rules that supersede or change what the state intends us to do. I mean, if you're gonna find, if you ask something from the treasurer or Augie, you don't gotta FOIA.
No.
I mean,
I do not.
we don't, we used to do that years ago, but
Well, this is a personal issue that I have with the health department for people that bake and whatever, because I'm married to one of those people, you know.
The cottage industry.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed at those people, where they're so inconsistent with what they do. They give this person an okay if this is for this reason, and they don't give this person an okay for, they're just very inconsistent. And to me, if I was looking at it, it would look like it was a personal issue, or somebody's upset with somebody about something, I don't know. But they just make up the little rules as they go along. Because some people are allowed to do things without doing the proper paperwork, and some people are not. Some people have to.
I think we just need to review the communication.
I was hoping that when they changed, that might make it, it won't matter now, but it would at the point.
We're gonna also go into executive session on personnel, and that will include some of those. Okay?
Tara brought it up. Okay.
No, you're
No.
fine.
Okay.
No,
That
don't
needs to
worry
be
about
brought,
it.
things like that need to be brought up.
The
Bother me,
things,
but I just
we
wanted
need to be as
to-
transparent as we can
Right.
up to a point, okay?
What about the shelter? Is,
The
do
what?
you guys, the shelter, do you guys have a website? Does the shelter have a website?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You do?
Well,
It's on, off our main website.
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's got a list of all the different agencies, and I've never hit animal shelter, so I don't know what shows up.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know
I was
that.
gonna say, I went fishing a while back, and, some don't have anything on there, and some
Right.
do, it's very inconsistent. But on this same
I
topic.
think she puts
though.
animals on, doesn't she, to adopt?
Yeah, I think there's a blurb on the front,
Yeah.
on the homepage that talks
Well,
about
we told
adopting a
Ross
pet.
to make it available to anybody, all the departments that wanted to use. So
Yeah.
that's what he
It's
did.
there.
So when you're publicizing your changing of hours and why you're doing it, you need to make sure that you
It's
have,
on the website.
yeah.
But we haven't decided
Okay,
yet.
we're not.
Okay,
still in the
well,
process.
just, it's gotta be
Yeah.
easily available because the other two shelter groups around, it's easy to see, the Clifford group and some of
Well,
those, I
she
think those are
posts
pretty
on the
easy.
door, but not everybody's gonna look at the door.
Yeah,
So that's a good idea, yeah, we'll be sure it's posted.
and maybe you need to do like HRC did here recently, and you have the yard signs that are at least at the veterinarians.
Right, right.
Yeah. There's a lot of opportunity.
Oh,
I'm sure
yes.
you guys will do a great job.
We're working on it. Lud and I take pride in animal shelter.
You should,
We just,
yeah.
I think you're doing really well. They don't have to put too many of them down, that always bothers me.
yeah, it's more this year than normal, so we get a little upset on that, but what are you gonna do? I mean, she knows about it, she's not gonna put an animal down unless it has to be put down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That stuff bothers me a lot.
Right.
But
Me too.
that's,
I mean, I don't
their
like to
judgment's so
apply.
much better than mine, I'm way too compassionate.
Talking about the health board, the building, did that get resolved? That health department was gonna buy?
Were they purchased around?
Oh, yes, that was discussed.
Okay.
I brought it up, Scotty followed me up. Scotty has a voice like my dad, it'll make your horse shiver. So,
So you got it resolved?
yes, and Monica will be contacting the corporate office to see if there is a commission paid locally, and she should be contacting the local person
Okay.
to make an apology that she did not understand that that's the way that was gonna work.
How's the summer food program going? Have you heard anything?
I had asked them to text me before this morning, no, I have not heard anything.
Me neither, nothing. I haven't heard any complaints though, so.
No?
Amanda and I did have a nice, long philosophical conversation a couple weeks ago on that.
And I'm not so much disappointed in her, just the parents that don't take advantage of something that's provided. I don't know what you're ever gonna do about that.
No, either.
Makes you wonder what happened in the past too at times, doesn't it? I mean, so you sent that food out, but you said at times you'd go by in the
Well, I've gone
afternoon, they're
back
still,
in the afternoon, it's still sitting on the front porch.
so how much,
But I can remember one specific instance was out of Highland Park Court, when I took stuff up, so the lady was sitting in a rocker watching TV. I knocked on the door and she looked right at me and she knew what it was. 6, 7 hours later, when I went out to McDonald's for something, it was still sitting there. So, I mean, what else can you do? You can't take it in and feed it to them. Somebody's putting out some money and time to do that.
Yeah, Amanda said she wasn't necessarily opposed to, and again, she wouldn't she's hoping she doesn't have a role in it next year, but she wasn't necessarily opposed to, nor did she think that the restaurant folks were either, to having it a drop off and pick up after restaurant. She said, some of those kids may have never gone to a restaurant. It's maybe a new experience for them. Well, I hadn't thought of that one, but.
That ain't crossed my mind.
That happened to me this year, dropping the kids off at the restaurant. The one that went,
So they know we're here, they know we support them,
right,
they know.
that's all you can do.
we're not trying to get involved in their program, we're just there to make sure they have the financial backing.
I think you guys have done great with that. I don't see any complaint there.
Anything else? I would like to circle back to the HR thing that we're looking at. We've also discussed, and you need to be aware that we're gonna bring it to you, that we might look at, depending on how this works, is concentrating the HR function under one person. Right now, it's spread across several offices. Files are all over the place. And, you know, insurance and all the IMRF stuff's handled in one office. Payroll's handled in another. Departments maintain their own files. I mean, it's all pretty much spread out, and we look to consolidate and maybe combine functions under one office so that we can proceed and have one single source with some cross-training in departments, so that when somebody's on vacation or whatever, that function would still, especially payroll, would still be taken care of. So, any comments on that?
No, I've been thinking about the position, that some of the things I'm thinking of, that this person would be the point of contact for employees and vendors. They'd be responsible for software maintenance and work with the vendor. They would be responsible for HR training and policies. That doesn't mean they would do the HR training, but if your office required a training, then if she knew about it, then, or he, then that could be a point of contact to make sure that it got on the system, so that a lot of times it would be online, so that the link would be through this system, and then it would be tracked through this system, so you would know you've got a small office. But that way you have proof that every one of your people took the training, just a different way of doing the same thing you do. And that might be, I can see maybe that being more of an issue with the sheriff, because I would assume they have a lot of trainings. It's a way to formalize it. I will tell you, we talked about this briefly at Public Health Department, because I know I want to tell them it was coming up. They already use HDP, they use ADP, which is what the hospital uses, which is probably why they use it, because Ollie was familiar with it. It's a fine system. So she was wanting to know on the payroll side how that could all go together, and I'm pretty confident that it can. So Public Health would do like their HR in one system and their payroll in another, and then they may at some point then decide to transfer over. But we did talk about that. You kind of talked about this being a point of contact for FOIA requests. I just wrote it down. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. Could be a liaison with HR consultants, so with
Right,
Bellwether.
definitely.
They could chair the HR complaints committee. I can't remember what the actual name of that is, but our handbook, we say we have one. So this person would chair it.
I think it's the offices committee, county offices.
Okay.
You're talking
And as
about
far
hiring
as-
somebody to do this?
Yeah, we have several positions open now, so instead of hiring like we used to do, can we make it work better by hiring people like an HR's person, and then somebody gets certified for like your job as a, what do you call, they're certified and they do registrar, right? In your office, what is Billy Ann?
Recorder.
Recorder, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then also, I don't know that, I think it needs to be written into the position description, how the balance of time would be allocated, because I don't know that this is a full-time position on a full-time every week. Sometimes it could be full-time.
Yeah, I don't think
sometimes it
it'll be
wouldn't.
full-time
So,
every week.
no,
So
so
if-
we would need to
but-
decide, where's this person, is this person a department head, or does this person fall under somebody else's department?
So
I
like,
think that's it.
if it's that person was in Augie's office, maybe 3/4 of their time would be dedicated to this what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the time do other duties for him,
Right,
possibly.
possibly, or if they are their own department, you all would need to decide what else would you have go to them on a regular basis.
Well, if they're gonna do payroll, Augie's probably not correct.
Right.
It would be a treasurer office person.
And they could probably always find a lot of other things to do.
Right, but that's,
Yeah.
it needs to be defined.
Right, it
But
does.
But
They
then
need-
that person, but then the stuff that Augie does now through IMRF and all that, it wouldn't be in his office, it'd go to Don, the trade, that.
Right.
In other words, you're an employee, you go to one office.
Right.
You don't go
Right.
to 2 or 3
Right.
different offices to get your,
And
Right.
physically, this person has gotta have an office with a locked door. So think about that too.
and we have, I
Yeah.
mean, we're just, like, it could be actually out at the health department. I'm sorry, out at the highway department. And we're checking into whether the communications and the computer systems that would be an issue. But we do have extra offices out there. But is that gonna be too far away? We don't know, that's, at any rate.
So,
But these are-
I got another question. As far as the program and whatever, what's the cost? Has anybody talked about the cost of
Haven't gotten that far.
what
There
that
will be
program?
cost, and it is most likely to be per person, per employee. So rather than be a flat fee, it's more, the two that I've talked to apparently are a per employee. And I asked Pam, and she said that the number of employees is anywhere from 100 to 145.
Really?
Mhm.
Because of that, okay.
Not that we have 45 seasonal employees, but that was just her comment, somewhere between 100 and 145.
And that's including like the health department part of it?
She was looking at it from a payroll perspective, so yes.
All the payrolls that they handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not we're still at the, and I think we're gonna be for a little while, just at the fact-finding phase, so it will just be this small group.
Going along with that, I talked to Augie and he's gonna prepare a budget letter. As soon as Don has got, his office has stuffed all of the tax bills, then he will get Augie the information that he needs to go ahead and send out to all the department heads and elected officials to start to go through the budget process, with the idea of us being able to start looking at it in September. So, we're still looking at the tax bills being due on, is it September 8th, Augie? It's somewhere around
Yeah,
September
10th,
8th. And then the
Yeah,
last
9th.
payment due on November 4th, 3rd or 4th. So we should have the tax bills out this week, late, maybe. I don't know, we're
I don't know when
sometime
it's
in the
time,
next 10 days.
Yep.
They were starting to stuff today. Let's see. The airport, we got everything asphalted. They're gonna wait for a week or so, then it'll be restriped, and the lighting system will be upgraded as according to the contract. Additionally, the dirt piles around that were the leftover or whatever, spoils, have all been leveled out. Brad had a few piles of aggregate that were milled off of some roads that he had stored out there, and he's moving that out. So it'll look nice and clean and level, and it's been sloped off so that we can seed and make that place look presentable again. So that's at the airport. We've got another pre-construction meeting on the main runway, and that one, the bids will be let here in September for that project. And that will be the new lift that they're gonna put on the oldest runway that we have. And I can't remember the number, but that will be resurfaced. It's time. There are some tears, if you will, and so forth in it, that it's time that it needs to be redone. We also have still, the control systems are supposed to be replaced sometime in this next year also. It's called the Platus system. So that is in the works also. So that has to do with the airport. And just to remind you, First Mid at 2 o'clock today at First Mid, and then tomorrow morning, the law office for the Sheriff's Committee, which has been posted, and we'll be meeting with the judges about their take on what we need in the jail to accommodate certain types of hearings. And so that's what we're gonna do in the morning. We have a need for a closed session on personnel and pending litigation. Do we have Andy moves, Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, so whenever you need a break for a second, then we'll do our thing.
Just ask her if you have 4 different numbers, not the same.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we're back in open session. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I do. Augie Caitlin from Paycom said she's having contractions, she needs to reschedule the meeting
Today?
today.
Seriously, so no meeting?
No meeting, so you,
Good.
Well, pretty good reason.
need to let Pam and Dawn know.
Well, I'm gonna go there now. Do you want me to talk to Don about that stuff that I just gave you as far as the lawsuit?
He can find it just as quick as
Okay.
I could, and you're
Is
gonna
there
be there.
anything- The only thing he might not have, does he have one of those sheets, the annual basis sheets for those years? In other words, the equalized assessed value, does he have a sheet on each one of those? Like I got here?
Yeah, I don't, oh, you mean for our levy where we've included?
Well, whatever shows the
Yeah.
final levy.
The approval forms.
Well,
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
okay.
SSA 1, yeah. He
I
should
just-
have it, if not, I'll have to compile one, but
It exists.
the information exists.
For the
Gathering it.
ambulance service only, or wouldn't there be a sheet on that one?
Yes, there's one for every year that we do that, for every municipality that does a levy.
Okay.
And so SSA 1 would have their own separate one, even though we do their levy.
Right.
But I don't have all 10 or 11 of them bound together. I gotta go back and pull them out each year. And I can do that.
Why don't you plan on doing that, please? I know you don't have anything else to do. Whatever it says in there, I think it gives you the years. What?
So I don't know if I don't know how far along she is and what I'm having contractions, but that's gonna impact us. But do you want me to go ahead and schedule a demo with Lori from the other company
Might
then?
as well.
And do you need them, what time works best for you all? Is 11:30 good so it doesn't mess with your coverage over the noon hour, Augie? Or do you want it at noon?
Whatever works for you all. I mean, I'm part of the rotation in there, but
When's the rotation start and when's it over?
11 o'clock,
And when is it over?
when I walk out at 1 o'clock
Okay.
for my lunch.
Because either I'm gonna need to, I can sort of get down here at noon for a noon meeting. 11:30, that would leave me leaving at 11. I can't hide that one from my people who pay me. But
Whatever you gotta
If
do
it's
is
at
what you gotta
noon,
do.
I can do it if it isn't screwing everybody else up. Otherwise, we'll have it at a slightly different time and
That's fine.
I'll do my
Do it.
best.
Yeah. I need to stop eating anyway.
Just
okay, I will
set
try
it
to set
and-
up
and
one
we'll
up with
just work
Lori
around
at
it.
noon for the other company then.
Yeah.
And they function very differently. Her per product and how it comes together is very different. But it's good that we started with Paycom, because I think it's really pretty straightforward.
Anything else? Is there any public comment? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn. Andy moves, Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
And my boss